All right, welcome to our last installment for this school year on the Are You Well workshop series. My name is Judy Fredericks. I'm your wellness liaison from the Rush Wellness Center. As you can see, the background is beautifully well. Take a nice, good, deep breath. And today we're talking about restoring your emotional energy. September every month with a different topic. So if there's a topic that we haven't touched that you would love to hear about, especially our university students, we would love to know what it is. So please email the Rush Wellness Center and let us know your thoughts, or at the end, there'll be an evaluation QR code that you can also send any ideas. So would love to hear from you and get some good ideas for next year. So let's start out as we always do. So sit back, put all your stuff down, put your feet on the floor, hands in the lap. We can start out with, thank you, Mary. I appreciate you being on with me, and Mary's gonna kind of watch the chat for us. So thank you for that thought. So you've got your feet flat on the floor, your hands in your lap. Let's roll back your shoulders and take a nice deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Recalling from our other times we've met, your hand over your heart and 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth is the way that you can reduce your cortisol. So kind of settle in, kind of move that emotion away and be able to be very mindful of where you are. So go ahead and do that. 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And as you're doing that, if you can take in the green gray of outside, that is the most calming color to your brain. So if you have a picture in the office, if you have the ability to look outside a window, that's very good to be able to calm your brain. Right? So now that you have that image in your mind of green gray, I'd like you to go ahead and either lower your eyes or close your eyes and listen to my voice. I want you to settle in and think of a person who's been kind to you. Could be a grandparent, a teacher, a parent, a friend, a partner, even a beloved pet. Allow yourself to feel the kindness and the warmth. Imagine this person or this being gazing at you with understanding and kindness and compassion. Imagine this person is wishing you well, sending you a blessing, possibly saying these words: "May you be safe and protected. May you be healthy. May you be held in kindness and compassion." Take a deep breath and let's stretch. So hands out in front of you to round out your back. Hands over your head, grab one wrist, pull to the side. Grab the other wrist, pull to the other side. Put your hands behind your back to open up your chest, especially those of you who sit over in a computer. You look like a shrimp at the end of the day. Open up that chest, take a deep breath, and shake it out. All right, so let's get started on our day. So the objectives for today is really got to do with energy. And we want to acknowledge the level of energy that you are working with, your emotional energy, especially because emotional energy will kind of zap your energy much more than physical exhaustion does. So that emotional exhaustion really does take its toll. Now, what I have on here is a taxonomy that's actually an emotion-based affective domain. And that's how we deal with feelings and things emotionally, how our attitudes, our values, and our interests are affected. It's arranged from the simpler feelings to those that are most complex. And it's really about noticing that's important. Noticing how you're feeling, noticing where the feeling is in your body, all the way up to passively paying attention to a level of commitment. Emotional energy can show up as self-reliance, cooperative teamwork, and how you value people around you. So it's important that you have that. So we want to talk about a couple of ways that you meet your energy needs when you're stressed. Maybe propose a plan to increase your emotional energy, and think about 2 pathways for support. And that's always good to, whether you need it or not, to have a plan if there would come a moment that you would need support. The definitions that we're going to work with today, very simply, energy is the power from a source. Where you get your energy from. Bless you. and the ability and strength to do physical things. So I think that idea about power from a source. So it could be any source. It could be a spiritual source. It could be a physical source, an emotional source. It could be that connection with somebody. So that's your energy, where you're getting your energy from. Your emotions is actually the glue that keeps you together, and it provides color to your life. So emotions, good or bad, they're not either. They just are your emotions. We are actually the ones that assign how it feels, right? So you have to think about that. So that's that emotional energy, is that feeling sensation and the reaction that makes it specific. So think about this, that your interpretation is what gives emotion meaning, right? So you put on the good and the bad. And then languishing, really a sense of stagnation, emptiness, exhaustion, just heaviness that you just can't, a sense of apathy that you just can't get going. And so we want to be able to think about, when those feelings come up, what can you do to kind of switch that script and feel a little bit more energetic and be able to just push through that moment so that you can get back to your normal self. There's a couple types of stress, and I think that's an important thing. And stress hormones like cortisol really do influence the structure and the function of your brain area for learning, like the amygdala and the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. All those are part of the brain's limbic system. And these structures are primed to be on high alert for danger and react quickly. So lately, everybody's kind of been on high alert, right? Less tolerance, people not being calm in situations. They're reacting as if it were the worst, instead of taking a moment to see, is this really what I think it is, or is it just simply whatever? So the idea of thinking about the levels of stress that you have, positive stress in your life, yep, that's what keeps us going. A lot of times that what gets us to a deadline, right? And then there's tolerable stress, and that's something that's serious, but it's temporary. So you know that you can manage it, right? And then finally, there's toxic stress. That's really what we want to avoid. We want to avoid the chronic and the frequent activation of the amygdala, because then we're always in that fight, flight, freeze. We're always reacting instead of having logic and reasoning. We want to be able to take those 6 seconds that it takes to go from your reptilian center, your amygdala, to your prefrontal cortex, where that logic and reasoning is. And so just those 6 seconds could be the matter of a deep breath, or to take a sip of water, or just something that will allow you enough time to shift those emotions away and move to that prefrontal cortex. Now, I have a question for you, if you will follow the survey that's on the screen, and I'd love to know what energizes you. So you can use the QR code, or if you're calling in, you would join us at slido.com. The code is 3032656, and there's a passcode once you get in. The passcode is WOEC9J. And this is an active poll, so go ahead and just type in what energizes you. When you're having a rough day, or you're sitting on the couch and you know you got a whole list of things to do, what gets you going? Working out, absolutely. Wonderful. Laughing, that's so wonderful. Working out, Pilates, aromatherapy. Yes, I think especially if you're feeling stressed, that aromatherapy can just lighten your mood. And it takes about 20 seconds for that aroma to get to your brain. So give it a couple moments to take a couple deep breaths and let it just kind of sink in and feel good. And think about what kind of aroma you like. Do you like the smell of orange or eucalyptus? What are the smells that are out there that are best for you? Taking a shower, absolutely. That just kind of gives you a different perspective, doesn't it? Playing with your kids, walking on the lake, that's wonderful. Making a list, yes, to kind of go into that reality-based thing, right? What is the things that are making me exhausted, and what do I really have to do? So you make that list to take a look at that. A hug, I think that's wonderful, and make it at least an 8-second hug, right? That strong 8-second hug can at least get those endorphins going, and it feels so good. So thank you guys for putting in all those wonderful things. I love the pets and the cooking. The cooking engages all your senses, doesn't it? And that's just a wonderful thing. And then you get to enjoy what you had afterwards. So that's wonderful. We were doing, during COVID, we were doing cooking on Zoom, which was a lot of fun. We would agree on a recipe and we would all get on Zoom and we would make it at our house and enjoy it and talk about it afterwards. So just any of those things, it's just very wonderful. Oh, I like somebody put ice cream. Absolutely. That's good. Gotta have that. All right, we've got one more person typing. And then what I'd like you to do is, oh, I like watching the Food Network. Yeah, you want to watch them make it, right? That's wonderful. All right, so I've got one more question for you. I want you to define support. So defining support, what I'm asking for is when you felt really good about somebody lifting you up, what actually did they do? Or what action happened that they did? So a lot of people say, oh, I don't have enough support or I want more support. What is it that you're looking for? And yes, I think that listening, that validation, feeling heard, somebody coming back, circling back around to check in on you, acknowledging this is hard, right? Life is hard. And some days it's really hard. And it's so important that you do feel heard and understood. And there's such a difference in listening to fix or listening to listen, right? So if you're a person that naturally goes to fixing, make sure you check in with the person that's sharing their concerns with you and say, are you looking for some suggestions or do you just want me to listen? And you'll be surprised how many times they say, I just want you to listen. And it's really good that you know that. Yeah, listening when I need to vent, acknowledgement of my stress. Those are all very important things. And I think for all of you that have dialed in today, the idea is that you know what it feels like to be supported, and then you offer that to others. And I think we can just get this chain going of being able to validate each other and doing it for each other. I think that's such an important thing that does provide that positive energy. So thank you for all the input that you gave. There's two more people typing, so I'll hang on just for a couple more seconds. Different perspectives. I agree about that. You know, when people think about conflict as a battle, I'd like you to switch that a little bit and think about what if conflict was just the fact that you didn't have enough information, that if you came to it with curiosity and heard the other person's side, both sides might learn something new and come to a whole new idea. And so there's a lot of benefit in conflict if you look at it from the perspective of curiosity instead of a battle. So thank you again for everybody that joined in here. I really appreciate your comments. All right, so let's talk about energy points. And I thought a lot about today's discussion. And when you're in a crisis, you can't learn new things, right? You can't add on new things. And we've been through a lot of crises, you know, and definitely COVID-19 was absolutely pinnacle for most of us. But then there was our personal things that happened. And so hopefully by now your cortisol is starting to come down to kind of a pre-pandemic level, and you are allowing your prefrontal cortex, where that logic and reasoning is, to be the main driver. You are resilient. You're here. You made time for yourself for an hour of wellness. That's amazing if you think about it. Whenever you make time for any kind of exercise, whether it's physical, spiritual, emotional, whatever it is, that's just such a gift that you give to yourself. And so today I thought about recovery and rest and restoring your energy. So at each energy point we talk about, please add in ways that you found that was successful in the chat to kind of restore your energy. But right now, what I'd like you to do is take a look at these colors, the chakra colors. Take a look at those and which color just really speaks to you. This is probably the color most predominant in your wardrobe, the color that your eyes go to when you look at jewelry or some kind of accessory or a picture that you like to have. You know, definitely for me, it's like the blues and the teals are just very joyful for me. So write that down so that when we get to that color and we talk about it a little bit, you can say, yeah, that's my color. Or maybe you find a new color, right? All right, so when you have energy stored and restored, you want to think a little bit about where it is. So it could be in your brain, in your nervous system, in your emotional core. Like people think about, like right in the middle of their chest is like where that emotional core is, in your large muscle groups, in your GI system. So each of the colors actually match up to these things, and they do connect to your feelings. And there are sensations that you can pay attention to. And I hope what you'll do is kind of allow yourself to get to that. And some of the ways to do that is by taking regular breaks. So you get a little bit more mindful about what's going on with you, that you get about 7 hours of sleep if that's possible. That's like the sweet spot. That you think about time boxing instead of multitasking. And if you can't do that all the time, at least once a day, set a timer and do a task without doing anything else, just to get that feeling of accomplishment. And yes, if you have to go back to multitasking, you need to do it. And then make a daily schedule. And I think having a list or a schedule really does help your brain have some consistency about what's going on. Now, there's a lot of things that we do that block our energy restoration, and we talk about that all year round. And sleeping has got to be the number one thing. That if you're sleeping less than 5 hours a night, 3 nights a week, we really want to pay attention to that and think about talking to somebody about what can be done about that. CBT2 is a really good therapy to be able to help you with sleeping. And we actually do have one of our psychotherapists, one of our psychologists, that Sheila is able to do that with you in the counseling sessions. So definitely think about maybe taking that opportunity since it's free, we'll talk about that later, free to students and employees. Conflict and worry, a lot of that has to do with the imposter syndrome or that perfectionism kind of thing that you're always feeling in conflict or in competition and worrying, and that definitely does block energy. Stress, we're always going to have stress, whether it's school, it's work, it's relationship, it will always be there. But you want to think about the level of stress. And if that stress is a relationship, is that relationship worth saving, kind of changing how you look at it, or is it so much of a drain that you just can't continue? And so that's a really big thing to be able to talk it out with somebody before you make a change there. How about acknowledging your success? How many of you have a hard time accepting a compliment? You say, oh, that's okay. Anybody would have done it, right? Instead of saying, thank you for noticing, thank you for mentioning, just thank you. So take a moment right now with your phone and send a compliment to somebody. And it could just be, have a great day, or love you, or have a good afternoon, or I can't wait to see you, just anything, just something they're not expecting as a compliment. Love having you as a colleague, really great working with you yesterday, just anything. Because the idea is you release endorphins when you send out a compliment, when you use gratitude, and at the same time, the person receiving it releases endorphins. So you've got this really good feeling happening. And if they send you a compliment back, it feels even the best, right? You got a twofer. That's great. You want to be able to think about your own well-being. And you do want to think about if you're using alcohol or drugs to numb. And that's an important thing. There's a delineation there that you use it to relax or you use it for socially. But when you're starting to use it for numbing, that you really need to pay attention if it becomes a pattern. So we do want to pay attention to that. Now, some of your energy has to do with maybe you've lost the idea of why you do what you do. And so you want to look at your why. And a lot of things are easy to do about that. When you think about why it is you do what you do, you can put a Post-it right in front of your computer and you can look at it and it can help you smile. It could be on your mirror in the morning that you see it. But you want to think about what blocks your energy. And sometimes it's things that you can fix yourself. And finding out your why is really one of those things that we want to do more than survive, right? We've got values, we've got purpose, we got passion, and your work sits at the crossroads of talent, skills, passion, and the deepest values. So you think about what your why is. It's actually a statement of purpose that describes why you do the work you do, why you live the lifestyle you live. Is this your calling, your conviction? Can you repeat success if you know your why? Absolutely. It brings energy to know your why. So that's one of the things about talking about what makes you come alive. To me, I love helping people become more connected. I love to become the best version of myself and to be remembered as a force of good. That's for me. And so what I do and everything that goes on in my day, my hope is I reconnect to that why of my purpose. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about powering up. There's been a lot of uncertainty, and studies show that healthcare staff all across the country Find a challenge to recognize when coaching or right sizing would be beneficial, being proactive. If you feel that there's a stigma associated with emotional support resources, you might just be adding to your very own burnout. So why not at least try to go to the wellness website just to see what Rush offers? It's kind of amazing, the free offers that are there in front of you for the taking. You just have to know about them. So to continue on with today, we want to recognize the emotions you hold on to. We want to imagine the colors in your body as power centers. They're always changing. We're going to go through 7 of the strongest centers or chakras to find your connection and maybe even your why. When we get to the color you wrote down, see if anything rings true for you. So let's start out with red. Anybody wearing red today? All right, so imagine the color red, kind of your root instinct and survival. Clasp your hand at the base of your spine behind you near your tailbone. So actually sit up straight, put your kind of a fist at the bottom of your tailbone. This is your security and your power base. It determines your ability to feel calm, safe, and secure. Tension in this area might be due to holding on to anger and resentment. Learn to turn that power to a creative force, and it can be very rewarding. Having a discussion about anger or practicing a scenario where you forgive and move on can be very freeing. You might think of it as a stoplight. It brings attention to safety. It tells you to slow down, to be present, and to help us remain safe. You can do guided meditation with the tensing and relaxing of each of your muscle groups from your feet all the way up to your face. You can relax with breathing and bringing yourself to awareness. And for those of you who are red, treat yourself to a new pillow. That might be a way to kind of allow a little bit better certainty in your life, a little more sense of order in your life. All right. So how about those of you who are orange? Orange is 2 inches below your belly button. It's a sacral space. So you can like go below your belly button on the front and just put that fist right there. And that governs your emotions, creativity, sexuality, emotional well-being. And it gives off a feeling of warmth and excitement. Just the color orange is a very warm feeling, right? You can express feelings without being emotionally overwhelmed. And if this center is blocked for you, you may not feel open to others. You might feel isolated or just emotional all the time. You can hold fear in this area. Acknowledge those feelings, talk it out, consider your choices. The more you express in words, the less of a hold it can have on your body. You might experience low back pain, low energy, and cramps if it's blocked. And there might even be a feeling of envy, more like the swan effect. That why is everyone looking so calm and so together, and I'm paddling like crazy, right? So to reconnect, take a bath, swim, go to the beach soon, right? Hip circles are one of the nice ways to release tension in that area, right? And that whole idea of having a positive affirmation, if orange is your color, is I am creative. And that would be one way that as you wake up, before you pick up the phone, and look and start to scroll, just maybe stretch and be able to think of positive affirmations and include, I am creative. All right, so let's visualize yellow. It definitely has a sense of confidence. It has a feeling or sense of dignity. And so all these things here, you want to move your hand between your navel and your sternum solar plexus. All right, so a little bit higher up on your body. This is the warmth of the sun. This is willpower and motivation. It focuses on gut and stored emotions. If you eat yellow foods, you want to look at sweet potatoes, yellow peppers, corn to tap into your energy. If this area is blocked, you feel indecisive. If it's overactive, you feel aggressive. So it's kind of interesting that have both sides of that. Belly breathing is a really good way to relax that area. So when you take that breath in, allow that belly to be the thing that moves. Exercise, short meditations can help. And your affirmation is, I am enough. I have purpose. I am strong, capable, and powerful. So again, your affirmations are, I am enough. I have purpose. I am strong, capable, and powerful. Consider the light of a candle as a focus point. The power of a single candle can calm you. It can light 1,000 other candles and it will not diminish its flame. Use a candle as a focal point for mindfulness. They've got amazing candle apps on the App Store. They look very realistic, and just for a few moments, maybe 30 seconds, follow that flame, and it is very calming, and be able to take those breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And so this connection is a fundamental piece of what it means to be human. So we want to have meaning and purpose, right? And so that the blockage will show up as digestive issues, or again, difficult making decisions, that kind of feeling of helplessness, right? All right, calm with green. All right, how many of you have green as the color that you kind of get energized by? I love that. That's attending to emotional pain and increasing your connection. So this has got a lot to do with love and compassion. And you want to think about yourself. Do you put others first to your own detriment? Right, so kind of ponder that. It's in the center of your chest. So if you have your hand over your heart, take a deep breath and imagine your heart with an emerald green light around it. See if you can kind of have that moment of just a little meditation of that emerald green light. Energy in this area is tied to green. Think about being outside. The color green is calming and energizing. So if you were going to paint your bedroom, don't paint it blue. Go for green gray. All right, that's that very calming. It represents the ability to give and receive love, service to others, kindness, health, and healing. And that's the colors for rush, isn't it? So definitely green is within our chakra. If the need to mourn a loss is also in this color green area. If someone has hurt you, if there's been the ending of a relationship, as well as the death of a loved one, attending to your broken heart and honoring your sadness is a very important tool in restoring your energy. Green gray, you want to get outside, and maybe something you do for yourself is change the filter in your furnace or air conditioner. Empathy can be the key to bridging the gap between labels that divide us. That was from Jamal Royals. I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Definitely something with green. All right, how about blue? Stimulate with blue. All right, I want you to close your eyes for a moment and allow your shoulders to relax. Take a few deep breaths. When you take a breath in, hold it to the count of 4 and exhale to the count of 7. Do that 3 times. Place your hand gently on your throat and imagine the color blue, maybe the water of the oceans. This is all about self-expression and clear communication. Feeling judged or rejected keeps us from speaking the truth. If you've lived with oppression, speaking your mind may have been and still may be dangerous. So you may be your own toughest critic. Your impulse to speak and your impulse to stay silent can manifest in tension and throat problems. Your tension shows up in your neck and your shoulders. For food, blueberries or visualizing blue light around or surrounding your throat can help increase your confidence and actually help you write and speak clearly. Write and read back out loud. If you read poetry out loud or to yourself, it really does calm you. So poetry, or even if you read your notes, if you're typing out your notes in Epic, if you read them quietly out loud, you're able to calm yourself. It's the reading out loud that makes a difference. Vibration or humming massages your organs and brings calm. So that's a good way to use that throat for humming. And do pay attention to the amount of screen time you take in. Blue screen makes your brain activated and does not allow rest. It changes your sleep patterns. It blocks melatonin production and it affects your circadian rhythm. So you want to be able to think about ways that we can enhance the feeling of that blue calming and the ways that we stop it. Indigo, that kind of light purple color, creates a wellness pattern and increases empathy. And the color itself represents wisdom. It does connect you to a higher consciousness. It's in the center of your forehead between your eyebrows. The third eye is what it's called, and it's about insight. You might dream a lot. If it's blocked, you can actually feel confusion in your body. Use 2 fingers and do small circles along your eyebrows using gentle pressure, and get to the temples and use that massage or tapping. If you're into tapping, you can start the tapping there. And this is usually a very good space for you to be able to relax. When this space is open and there's not a lot of tension here, you'll actually see clearer. You can think through things better. You might be someone who takes on too much and you have trouble delegating. You might be strong-willed, controlling, and eventually that does lead to splitting headaches, and long-term it does lead to burnout. So the quote I like for this is, "Don't let perfect be the enemy of good," from Voltaire. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Allow yourself to ask for support. Decide what's really worth taking on. Share your responsibilities. Create that worry list and look at what's actually in your control and be accepting of yourself of things that are not in your control. Celebrate what you can do. In this area is empathy, and it's the ability to understand the shared feelings of another. So understanding another's point of view. Be curious, challenge prejudice, discover commonalities, and listen hard. I think listening to music, using that aromatherapy, and creating that worry list is really helpful. And if you can do meditation or yoga, even better to help unblock those areas.
Judy, there was a question in the chat said, what was yellow and orange like the no indigo? No.
What was yellow and orange? I can go back. Do you want me to go back to that? Is that the question? So with yellow, the mantra was I can, and the
Yeah, I
block.
think the mantra, yeah.
Yeah, and the blockage was digestive issues and helplessness. With orange, the affirmation is I am creative, and the block is emotion or trauma. So that's really a strong block. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking. All right, crown purple, 2 inches above the top of your head. All right, so it radiates up and outward. So you want to really imagine, or maybe you do this when you're in the shower. Do you imagine just you have water just kind of pulsating at the top of your head? And for a lot of people, that opens up their sinuses. It feels really good to do that. So if you haven't tried it, try it. But the idea of thinking about these rays of light, and it connects you to your higher self, your purpose, and enlightenment, actually. If you have trauma in this area, it will create a feeling of numbness, and you try to disassociate from pain or danger. It's important to process feelings. Whenever you are involved in any kind of trauma or near trauma, you want to be able to process that, because over time, memory does get lodged in your body and your limbic system, and you'll find that trusting others can be very difficult. The first step to freeing yourself from this numbness is to recognize the power it has over you and taking the next step to unpack it with a coach or a counselor. What works physically is gentle neck stretches, and I'm not talking about like circling your whole head, just kind of hover over one ear to a shoulder and for a couple of seconds, and then go to the other ear for a couple seconds. Allow your chin to fall forward, and then let your head go back and stretch your jaw. This is a really good way to kind of open that up a little bit. And then breathing, always good to take those deep breaths, stretching like we did at the beginning. And one of the really good stretches is one hand up high and the other down low, and just really reach as high as you can and as low as you can and stretch, and then come back to the center and do the same thing again. And it feels really good afterwards because you've got some really good circulation happening. You want to be able to unblock with aroma. And again, that positive affirmation or coaching is important. So if you're feeling a little disconnected and you're feeling kind of out of body, it actually is kind of out of body feeling, that you do want to pay attention to that. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about wellness goals. And before we do that, I want to open the chat just a moment and take a look. Oh, I'm glad you're finding the descriptions helpful. Oh, and you are purple, Arlene. Yes. So you know kind of where you're feeling, where your strength, your energy, and what blocks you. I think that's a really important thing to kind of have those things in mind and be able to pay attention to that. So when we think about wellness goals, one of the things we have to think about is self-kindness. It is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And I'm not talking about selfishness, I'm talking about self-kindness. The things that you would do for someone else, but when you think about doing it for yourself, you're like, oh, no, I shouldn't do that for myself. Yes, you should. Yes, you should. It's all about balancing, and it does not have to be over the top to have a meaningful impact on your mental health. It does have a ripple effect. So here's another quote that I like. Who you think you are not is what holds you back. And that was Simon Bailey, the author of Shift Your Brilliance. Who you think you are not is what holds you back. So that whole idea of positive affirmations is so important. Time management and creating a schedule each day with a list of things to do really can help you identify priorities and really take some of that energy drain off of your plate. Check in with a colleague every day, talk to somebody every day, and join a study group for students. Truly, if you think that you don't have time because you have to do a lot of studying, I will tell you that your brain will be more open to learning and filing what you've learned if you're able to have some social connection mixed in with all the studying that you do. When you worry, absolutely go ahead and worry, but identify it. I'm just worrying. It's okay. We do that, right? Just worrying. What's important, though, is that you have a worry space and time. And I've talked about that in a couple different talks, that usually before after dinner is a really good time, not at the end of the day, that you write down the things that you're absolutely worried about, and you want to see which ones of those belong to you, and can you put an action item next to that? So if you're worried about the fact that you've put off the laundry as long as you can and you don't have underwear tomorrow if you don't do laundry, that's got to be a priority, right? And it can be mixed in with other things. You could study, you could be reading, you could be doing other things while you get the laundry going, while you have the washer running or have the dryer going. So to definitely put out that worry list and identify the actions, and maybe create a to-do list. I think that's really helpful. For students, we have the Rush Center for Academic Excellence for learning support. And then we have the Center for Clinical Wellness for mental health resources. So I want to make sure that you are using both of those things to help you with your wellness goals.
Judy, we have another question. Peg asks, is it a common thing for your chakra to shift depending on the circumstances? I'm
It's ab-
predominantly,
It
yeah,
actually does. It does.
okay.
Different power centers or energy centers will light up depending on where you're getting your energy from at the moment or where your drain is at the moment. Yeah, so it's always shifting. Yeah, definitely. Good. That's a great question. All right. So when you want to think about wellness, you've got to do body, mind, and spirit, right? So your resilience is really what creates empathy, humility, and the ability to ask for assistance when you feel that you've got centers in your body that just are not picking up the energy like you need it. And so if you think about breathing, it does clear your mind because it increases your O2, right? So you're blowing off CO2 and you're just getting more air. So if you're able to walk and pump that blood to your brain and you're taking those deep breaths, you just feel better and your mind feels clearer. Some of the physical releases, if you're doing anything physical, you're going to release endorphins and you're going to feel good. Long-term effect is going to be decreased reaction to stress and decreased inflammation, and we all need that. When you're working with your mind, you're paying attention mindfully, you're doing meditations. Affirmations every morning is a really good pattern to be in before you grab your phone. Only if you grab your phone to do to turn on one of the affirmations, that's fine. But like if you head to news or scrolling or going down rabbit holes, try to avoid that. So free app right now is Insight Timer. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there are a lot of different free apps out there or free sections of apps that are able to guide you in meditation. Spiritually, a lot of opportunities. So you want to think about things instead of what you don't have. You want to think about what you're grateful for, what you do have. You believe you have control and you try to make changes, use compliments. Random acts of kindness are amazing for both the person receiving and the person who planned it. Many people find strength in believing in a higher power. And so that is definitely something you want to do regularly so that you lay down that neural pathway, that you can go to that moment where you take in that breath and you think about that gratitude that you have, and it just feels different. You feel good. Meditation, when you think about meditation, a lot of people say, oh, I'm a fidgety meditator. I can't sit still long enough. All meditation is breathing, sitting still, and noticing what comes up for you. If you hear a distraction, you pay attention to that. You hear the train go by, you hear a noise out in the hallway, I hear it, and then you just come right back to your breathing. And a lot of times you can start with something simple like a counting meditation where you actually count your breaths or you count your inhales until the point where you're able to focus without having to do something like that. Again, using that candle app can be something to focus on. Finding a window or a picture that you can focus is really good. And if you are going to start to meditate, use a timer, because that way you won't have to keep checking your watch or your phone or your alarm system. So use a timer so you know that in 5 minutes it'll go off. And truly start with just a minute and see how you do, and just work your way up. And consistency is really what the pattern is. You want to be able to sit in a chair, but not so comfortable so that you're slumped, kind of slouched. You want to sit forward. You want to be able to close your eyes or use that candle app. Deep breathing, definitely at the beginning, is going to allow you to relax and put your thoughts aside. You want to focus on your breathing while you're taking those nice, calm breaths. And you can think about the affirmations. So here's some of those affirmations. So I have the ability to, and you can give that whole list. I have the ability to create boundaries between temporary suffering and my inner core. I have the ability to accept my span of control. I have the ability to believe what is possible. So any of those things can kind of get you started in meditation to kind of help that whole body, mind, spirit connection. So there is some ideas about reframing. So we'll just take a moment with that. And that has to do with that inner dialogue, that your brain is always working, right? It's like that hamster wheel. So instead of saying, I have no energy to move, this Netflix binge is keeping me from getting anything done, maybe just one more, and you stay on the couch. And so what you really want to do is stop feeling guilty about it. You watched it and now you're going to be done, and you're going to make a schedule and you're going to continue on. So you could say, I know I feel tired. I'm glad I set the alarm. I'll get off the couch when it goes off and put on some music and anticipate that something will happen to change my mood. And it absolutely does. It's important to understand that the patterns of thoughts that go through our minds, we actually have the control to switch the script. And that's important. We have the control of sitting on the couch and staying there, and we have the control of getting off the couch. And a lot of times knowing what your list is, that you have something to do, makes it the best. And probably if you did make a list, do the hardest thing first, because when you do that, you're energized, you feel great that you did it, high five, you got it done, and the rest of the things look pretty easy. So yeah, eat the frog first thing in the morning. All right, so your exhaustion checklist. Admit it that you're exhausted. That's the most important thing. Admit when you're exhausted. Identify what's causing it. Is it emotional? Is it physical? Is it psychological? What is it that's causing that emotion? Take a look at that to-do list. Maybe change your input. And some of that has to do with who is around you. Some of that has to do with music. Just doing things that bring you joy, just a couple of things that bring you joy really does change that flow in your body, and you'll be able to continue other things. Sometimes you need to pick something that you can finish quickly so that you can at least check one thing off your list, or add the thing you just finished and check it off your list. All right. That whole idea of joy is connecting with others. Even if you start out with how much you really have to do and you share that, sometimes you finish with the fact that you were able to complete some things, and it just feels good. So think about what you can finish. Is there a hobby or a program that you haven't watched that you would like to do, and check that off your list. Other things that you can put in your pattern of eating, moving, and sleeping. We just had Activating April, and my hope is that you guys took advantage of that, because that was just a wonderful program as it was for every week. But then there were some amazing prizes. So if any of you got the prizes, great job. But in your pattern, you want to think about your water intake. Is it up or down? Is your water up and your wine down? Like, which way are you going? So you want to pay attention to that because water does have that ripple effect in your body. Are you cutting corners on exercise or sleep? Just the trend, kind of pay attention to that and try to get back in that pattern, right? And getting back in the pattern, I think, really does make a difference because you automatically know what you need to do. You have a pattern. So we're going to talk just a moment about the support that we have around for you. And I do want you to consider the fact about reaching out support to bolster your wellness that keeps you resilient. Take advantage of those who care about you, including Rush and the Rush Center for Wellness, your faculty, your professors, whoever you have around you, your leadership, your colleagues, take advantage because they all do want the best for you, right? So introducing you to the Center for Clinical Wellness, this is the physical space. And the way it was built was actually to look and feel like a spa. So if you are able to come in person, it is definitely a good feeling when you come in. There are a lot of services that happen, not all in the center. A lot of like what we're doing now is connecting online, but there is counseling and coaching. The Energy Pod itself has moved. It's over now in the fitness center. And what's wonderful about that is that you don't need to be a member of the fitness center to go and use it. You make an appointment by calling the fitness center. So you will have the best 20 minutes of relaxation that you've ever had. And so you're able to take advantage of that. And if you do decide to be in the fitness center, there is now kind of like a punch card thing where you can get a certain number of visits for a set price. And then that way you don't have to be a member and you don't have to go every week. I think what I'd like to highlight here is that it's free. Anything in the wellness center is free to students, house staff, and employees. And there's no session cap. So if you come because you're struggling with sleep, and you get some help with that and it works, but then you've got some anxiety you want to work on or some other issues that you want to deal with, maybe some conflict, that you certainly do want to be able to take advantage of the Wellness Center. So again, you're able to use the QR code, but it's easy to go on insiderush.edu/wellness to be able to get to the website. 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, in person and telehealth. And there's a lot more if you go on the website itself. It shows you all the different things that we do have available for you. Confidentiality was definitely kind of the cornerstone of how the Wellness Center was developed in both the facility design, the secure documentation, and the independent scheduling. And that's such an important thing that you know that we've thought about that and that's taken care of. I think it's important if you have any concerns about confidentiality that you talk it out, that you are able to talk about that. What I've been talking to you about is what's on the left side of your screen, the Center for Clinical Wellness. That's online scheduling. It's free, unlimited sessions for the Rush community. But we also have our employee assistance program, and that's a partner with ComPsych. So that's outside of Rush if you'd like a non-Rush provider. And that's a 24/7 availability. The phone number is on there, but if you go to Inside Rush, you can also get the phone number for them as well. The difference here is that they have free sessions that are limited to 5, and that it is amazingly available to immediate family and significant others. So those are really wonderful benefits that you can take advantage of. We have a consult pager that I want you to think about whenever things just don't feel okay. And maybe you've tried to get an appointment and there just isn't one that's working. And it's that feeling is still very pervasive. And so by paging 852323, you're able to get in touch with a psychotherapist within 60 minutes. Within 1 hour, usually much shorter than that, but within 1 hour, you're able to talk to a psychotherapist about what's happening right now in this moment. Why are you feeling uncertain? What are the things that are going on for you? At the same time, be able to set yourself up for something in the next couple of days to support your wellness. So definitely something to think about. All right, so as we wrap up, I want you to think a little bit about how you can stay true to yourself your health and your wellness, that you want to look at the effects of sleep, exercise, and nutrition on your body. And again, that ripple effect is so strong. You know that, and you do have time to do it. Once you start doing it, taking care of yourself, you'll be amazed just how you think, like, why didn't I always do this? Right. So we did today talk a little bit about pretty much all of our pillars of wellness, but I do want you to know that each time we come to you for Are You Well, we talk about and incorporate the pillars of wellness so that you have that idea of which way you can help support your well-being. Now, I believe that we may not need more sleep, that maybe it's your soul that's tired and you need nature, you need magic, you need adventure, you need truth, you need stillness, and you need to wake up and live. And that's from Brooke Hampton. So just some thoughts for you in that beautiful picture there.